My name is Bryce Edwards. I live in Southern Illinois, and I have seen Bigfoot on my family farm.
Hey everybody, and welcome to the Paranormal Portal. I'm your host, Brent Thomas. Thank you so much for joining us today. We've got an epic show ahead, but just remember, if any of you have experiences you'd like to share, I'd love to hear from you. You can either email me at paranormalportalradio@gmail.com or head over to paranormalportal.net and scroll down and find the button that says Interview Me, and that'll allow you to look at a calendar of possible times and dates and find a date that works for you. Love to hear your stories, so definitely get in touch with me. Hey everybody, and welcome once again to the Paranormal Portal. Hope you guys are doing great out there. Thank you so much for tuning in and for all the love and support you guys bring to every show. I've got an amazing show lined up for you today. I have Mr. Bryce Edwards joining me, and he's from Southern Illinois, and he had an encounter seeing a Bigfoot on his parents' farm. And this is going to be an epic journey, guys, so buckle up, get comfy, grab a drink of your choice, and let's jump into it. Hey, Bryce, welcome to the show, brother. Thanks for coming on.
Hey, thanks for having me, Brent. I appreciate it.
It's absolutely my pleasure, sir. And I got to ask you, because I'm always curious. I always ask where it started, but this sounds like where it started for you, at least with this encounter, was seeing it. But prior to this, how did you feel about Bigfoot? Were you a believer anyway? Or was this what caused you to believe, or where were you at?
Well, I always enjoyed, like in my teenage years, because I'm 40 years old right now. And so like in my teenage years, you started seeing shows and movies about Bigfoot, things like that. Monster Quest, Mysteries and Monsters in America, shows like that, started getting me really interested in it. I never thought that Bigfoot would be here in Southern Illinois. I always assumed if it was here, it was over in Washington and Oregon and like Canada,
Yeah.
And then since then it's like, oh, they're everywhere. Okay. Little fun fact. My grandma told me a story whenever I was about 10 years old of her seeing a honey bear. And when she told me this story, being 10 years old, not knowing anything about Bigfoot, I just assumed she was talking about seeing a brown bear.
Right.
She said that when my dad was about 4 or 5 years old and my uncle was either just born or maybe 1, that they were sitting out in the front yard and she saw this honey bear come walking out of the woods on all 4s, but then it stood up and started walking towards them on 2 feet, or 2 legs. And so that scared her. She grabbed my dad and my uncle, ran in the house, locked the doors, and hid in the closet until my grandpa got home from work that night. Now, whenever I was 10 years old, I'd seen the great outdoors. So I'm thinking, big bear chase me, all that kind of stuff. I'm like, I could see that. But it wasn't until just a couple years ago, I was listening to a podcast And the gentleman that was on there talking about his sightings and encounters and whatnot, he used the term honey bear. And as soon as he said that, like the light bulb went off. I remembered Grandma's story, and I'm like, holy crap, because by this point, I had already found tracks out on the farm.
Oh,
and
okay.
Yeah. And like 10 years ago, my dad, he told me that he was over at my cousin Jerry's on the farm because we all lived out there, just kind of spread around. It's a 642 acre farm.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like probably 2/3 fields, 1/3 wooded. But all the properties around us are the same way. Lots of woods, lots of different waterways, plenty of food source with all the game and everything.
Sure.
So, it's a good spot for him. But he told me that it was getting to be about dusk. He was talking to my cousin Jerry, and like there was a pack of coyotes going off in the field across the road from Jerry's house, and birds chirping, insects buzzing. Well, all of a sudden, he just heard this loud, just like kind of aggravated roars. What he kind of described it as. He's like, it was just like, and everything went dead silent. He said the hair on his arms and the back of his neck stood up. Same with Jerry. These were two guys that do not scare easy at all.
Sure.
And they were like, what was that? Wasn't like a cougar or bobcat or anything like a wolf even. They say we don't have them here, but there's been people that have told me that they've had them on their trail cams. So I don't, take that for what it's worth.
Sure.
But he told me that. He's like, I'd swear that was a Bigfoot.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, just from like, TV shows and stuff I've seen. He's like, it sounded similar to that.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, wow. Okay. I still really wasn't. I mean, I knew he heard something, but it just wasn't clicking with me that Bigfoot was in Southern Illinois,
Sure. Right. Yeah.
So
again, yeah. I think a lot of us knew that it was in the Pacific Northwest because from whatever sources, whether it was in search of or other older reports of it, that's where it came from. But I think, I mean, it was an absolute shock to me when I found out, oh no, they're everywhere. The only state in the United States that doesn't have claims is Hawaii, Yeah. So they're everywhere.
Yeah. And that, I mean, so, it was pretty shocking to hear all those stories and realizing, okay, so then we're going to go to 2023 on Mother's Day. The month of May seems to be like the kickoff month, at least these last 3 years that I've been really looking into it on the farm. Mm-hmm. It seems like the month of May is whenever I start getting evidence of them being there. They could be there the whole time. I don't know, but May just seems to be whenever they come out. So on Mother's Day, 2023, my wife wanted to go and see if there was any morels still out on the farm. I didn't know where to go to find any, so I asked my dad, and he said, yeah, go behind Jerry's house. Now, Jerry has since passed away at this point. But he said, yeah, it's like you go to those woods back there closest to his pond. He's like, there's some back there where the fallen trees are. I was like, okay.
So it was just common knowledge.
Yeah, I mean, well, he's lived his whole life out there for the most part, and I mean, he knows that place like the back of his hand. He knows it better than I do, and I spent a lot of time out there in my life.
Yeah, okay.
And so we go there, and we parked at Jerry's, went through the back, and like once you get past the yard, it's all overgrown, like tall grass and everything, about chest high. So we were wading through all that to get to the field because they had just dissed the field about a week prior, just by the way it looked. Mm-hmm. And I noticed whenever we were going through the tall grass, it looked like something big had been bedding down in that grass, but that could have just been a group of deer too. I mean, I'm not going to rule that out. But here in a second, you'll see why I think it was actually an ambush spot.
Okay.
Yeah. So my oldest son, he was a little bit ahead of us, and he said, hey, Dad, there's footprints in the ground over here. I was like, what? And I'm thinking to myself, well, maybe Dad was walking around out here, or maybe somebody that wasn't supposed to be out here. We're pretty protective of the farm.
Yeah.
So I get out there where he's at. I wear a size 13 shoe. Put my foot, like when I saw these prints, I put my foot next to it. It was a lot bigger. So I ran back to the car and grabbed a tape measure out of the glove box, come back, and I measured them. These were 18-inch prints. Oof. You could see toes. It wasn't like, somebody out there wearing rubber boots or something and stepping in the ground. Because I know that like loose soil will spread whenever you step in it. Mm-hmm. But these were big. They were 18 inches long by 5.5 inches wide. And there was a whole set of them cutting the corner of the field, going from where the tall grass was that we just came out of to the woods that we were heading to. So it was a little unnerving because it was like, what? Because I'm thinking, I'm thinking at this moment, holy crap, Dad did hear a Bigfoot whenever he heard that roar, because that was just across the road from where we were at in the opposite field.
Right.
And so basically straight line. So we go ahead and start walking to head to the woods, and we come across a deer carcass, more like a deer skeleton, really.
Okay.
But it had been ripped in half.
Oh.
We came across like, I think it was the back half first, and it was picked clean. And then about 20 feet up from there, found the other half, and the only fur or anything that was on it was on its two front legs, from about what I guess you would call the knee joint down to the hooves. There was still fur there. Otherwise, picked totally clean.
Oh, wow.
Now, I've seen coyote kill sites and things like that with a deer. Bones are everywhere. Right. It's never, everything's still together. So to me, something picked up a deer and ripped it in half because that's the way the skeleton looked. Like it just like maybe like it broke the spine and then ripped it in half from there or something. I don't know, but there was half over here and 20 feet up was the other half.
Oh, jeez. That's amazing. Amazing. I mean, if again, you're right. I think everybody that's spent any time in the woods, you've seen a kill site, and it's not orderly. It's not neat. I mean, you're right. Things are dragged, pulled, especially like a pack of coyotes. Even if the original predator didn't, sit and eat it all, there might be something together. But when the scavengers would come, like the coyotes or whatever, it's a feeding frenzy. I mean, there's nothing pretty. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. So that was wild.
That is wild.
So then we get into the woods, and as we go in the woods, I noticed one of the trees that we were walking by had a bunch of little sticks, like maybe about knee height. They weren't very big, but they were kind of set up in like a teepee formation, leaned up against the tree. Mm-hmm. And I mean, the way they were set, it looked like they were set with intention. And it didn't just look like, like a strong wind blew some limbs out or something like that and they fell. Right. It didn't look like that. I mean, maybe it was a marker or something. I don't know. Like, maybe it put that there for a purpose. That was just the idea I had at the time. We took pictures of everything we found. And one thing we didn't find was morels. Oh. And it was really weird because, like, also, I didn't see it then. But I also didn't notice until we got back to the car that it was really quiet over there compared to once we got back to the car, like you heard the birds and insects and stuff. Oh. That was pretty weird. It may have been in the area. Sure. But I don't know. So that was it for 2023. I told my dad about it, and he was like, yeah, okay. He was just kind of like, 'cause I told him, I was like, that's right over there by where you heard that roar come from. And he was like, yeah. He just kind of sitting there like, holy crap. And so that was it for 2023. Now, my first time I saw it, because I've seen it twice. The first time I saw it was 2024, month of May, about 2 weeks before Mother's Day. My grandpa, he's since passed, but he was battling dementia, and my dad wanted me to bring him over to his house out on the farm because he lived here. Him and Grandma lived here in town where I live. Oh, okay. And so I had my youngest with me. He was 3 at the time, and I had Grandpa. So we go out to the farm, and just typical beautiful May day, about a little bit after 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And we go across the bridge, and it's kind of a narrow bridge, so you got to drive slow going through it. So I was only going about maybe 25 miles an hour. And once you got past the creek, you've got a field on the left and a field on the right. Well, I caught movement out of the corner of my eye in the field on the right. And what I saw was about 65 to 80 yards back into the field. The field itself, it's like where the hill begins to go up to where my dad's is. So you've got that hillside right there, and then the rest of it's somewhat straight. But after the coal mine came through with the long wall, it's kind of sunk in a few areas over there, so it can kind of look a little hilly, sort of. Mm-hmm. But this thing was digging into the hillside. It was knelt down, and what caught my attention was its right arm. It was like digging into the hillside with it and then just thrashing its arm back, like throwing the dirt out. Uh-huh. That's what I saw. The arm, holy crap, this arm was long. Really? Like you take your arm, add another half an arm, at least.
Okay.
And like its hand opening up, throwing the dirt. I was like, what? Like, it was black. It had like a shine, or maybe a sheen, whatever you want to call it.
Sure. Yep.
Kind of similar to like sunlight hitting a horse, like how their coat will look. Mm-hmm.
How far away?
Do what?
How far away are you from this?
About, from the road to where it was at, we'll call it 80 yards max.
Okay. That's pretty close.
Yeah. And what I saw to begin with, it was about probably mid thigh up, because like I said, it was bent down digging.
Yeah.
But when it heard the car, it stood up, but I never saw the face. And that's what I really wish I could have seen.
Yeah.
Or maybe if I seen it, it looked terrifying. Maybe I'm good thing I didn't.
Right.
But, it turned and just started walking south and further into the field. So I hurry up, because Dad's house is only at the max a quarter mile from there. Mm-hmm. So I hurry up, get Pop dropped off to Dad. Told Dad, hey, I seen something big in the field, and I'm gonna go back and see if I can still see it. He was like, okay, and I'm like, no, I mean big. And he's just like, oh, really? Yeah. Like, I'll report back. Hurried up, went back in the car, rushed back down there. It was gone by that point.
Tonight's episode is brought to you by Schedule 35, a company focused on helping people reconnect with clarity, calm, and emotional balance, which is really tough in this very overstimulated world we live in. Schedule 35 is built around a carefully crafted psilocybin-based protocol that emphasizes intentional use, guided support, and personal growth, not escapism. More and more people are exploring psilocybin for wellness, mindfulness, and emotional reset. And Schedule 35 was created to provide a structured, responsible way to approach that journey. This isn't about getting lost. It's about getting grounded. With a guided framework, professional support, and clear intention, Schedule 35 helps people explore new perspectives and reconnect with themselves in a deeper way. If you've been feeling stuck, overwhelmed, or disconnected, this may be something worth learning more about. Just head over to schedule35.co. That's the word schedule, the number 35.co to explore the program. And when you're ready, use the code PORTAL to save 15% on your order. That's schedule35.co, promo code PORTAL, P-O-R-T-A-L, to save 15%. And a sincere thank you from me for supporting the sponsors who make this show possible.
But the next day, I went home, I told my wife, and then the next day we went back because I was like, I want to go see if I can figure out where it was at and take pictures of some tracks, maybe the dig site or whatever, you know. And it took me a little bit, but I did find it. It had rained the night before, so with it being on a hill where all this was happening, the prints kind of filled in a little bit, but you could still make them out, you know. But the like where it had been digging into the hillside, that it was still a good sized hole. Like I could put my hand in it, but you could also tell that some of it had kind of collapsed down because of the mud whenever the rain was going.
Right.
But I got pictures of that. Now, my wife told me that just me standing over there looking at it before I bent down to take the picture, she said she could barely see me. I'm 5'10".
Oh, okay.
I saw this thing clear as day, you know, crowd like kneeling down digging. So, and then she said whenever I bent down to take the pictures, she lost sight of me completely. Just because of how the waviness of the field from the coal mine.
Right.
So that was wild. So this thing to me had to have been every bit of 8 feet tall whenever it stood up. Right. Because when it stood up, now the body build of it, I don't remember if I said, but it was black. Yeah. The body build of it wasn't like Patty from the Patterson-Gimlin film.
Okay.
Honestly, it resembled, the closest thing I can compare it to is a Sam Elliott movie. The Man Who Killed Hitler and Then the Bigfoot. How the Bigfoot looked in that movie as far as body build wise, more like that swimmer's build, you know?
Yep. Like
lean but muscular. You could tell from the road this thing had some muscles on it. And but it just wasn't the big hulking figure that I would assume if I saw a Bigfoot, I would see something like Patty, you know?
Right.
And so that was wild. And like, I still, even though I found the prints and all that stuff, and I figured out it came from the creek, because that was the way that the prints looked like they were coming from. So I went over there and I found a tree break. Now, this branch wasn't just broken down and left like that. It was twisted around a good 2 or 3 times. That's intention. Yeah. That branch was also 10 feet up in the air just about.
Oh, man.
Because, like, I used to work at Home Depot, so I know what, 8 feet is. This was a little taller than that.
That's incredible. How big of a branch in circumference?
I would say probably about 3 inches around.
That's pretty
I mean, so you've got to have a hand, you've got to be able to grip it, and then you've got to have power to bust it like that and twist it around.
Yeah.
I mean, be up there doing it. I could jump up there, hang on one all day and not do it.
Yeah, that's so incredible.
Yeah, it was wild. So I reached out to Joe Doyle from Hellbent Holler.
Okay.
I asked him because I know him and his wife, Jessie, they go out like every weekend doing investigations and stuff, like Bigfoot, Dogman, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And I was like, look, man, I saw something on my farm. I didn't see the face, so I'm not exactly sure what I saw, but I think it was a Bigfoot. I just laid it all out there for him, and he was gracious enough to hear me. And he was like, yeah, man, he goes, from everything you've described, he's like, I think you saw a Bigfoot as well. And I'm like, okay, cool. Because it was just like, verification. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, okay, here's somebody that I know has seen him before and all that. Wow. And so that was cool. So then I get a hold of this guy I was friends with named Joe Turry, and he's a documentary filmmaker and has a YouTube channel, specializes in cryptids, like mainly Bigfoot, some UFO stuff. And I told him what had happened. I was like, hey, man, because I knew he had a bunch of gear. And I was like, you want to come out and, maybe do some investigating? He was like, yeah, sure. It took a while, though. We weren't able to actually get together until this year to get all that going, just because of his work schedule and everything.
Right.
But yeah, so that was pretty wild as far as that went. Looking at my notes real quick.
No, it's pretty fascinating to me that you've made mention of this, because that May was the hot time for this activity, and I've always believed, I don't know, I don't really have a a way to quantify this, but I've always believed that these family groups are probably a lot like a grizzly in that, grizzly's home range will be a couple hundred miles, in square miles, and they'll work it like a circuit all the way through the year, following the path of where they know where to go to get food, to forage, and all of that stuff. And so for your area, it could very well be that this is part of their circuit, and they hit your area at about May, and then they work through and go to other areas.
Yeah, it's been pretty wild. So like this year, I've really hit it hard with investigating and everything. Joe made several trips out, and one of his other research buddies, Jason, he lives a little further north, more closer to Chicago. I'm on the other end.
Yeah.
But they came out, and Jason's got a bunch of gadgets and all that too. And we've done quite a bit investigating, and we have received several vocalizations, pictures of prints, knocks, got eye shine one time. And that was wild. I'll get into that here in just a minute.
Sure.
So 2025, now we're current.
Mm-hmm.
So the week before Joe was supposed to come out, because he wanted to film, he wanted to interview me on location and do a daytime investigation for his channel.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, yeah, sure. I was like, let's call it the Pond Creek Monster, because here in Southern Illinois, we've got the Big Muddy Monster sightings that happened back in 1972, I think it was, over in Murfreesboro, Illinois.
Okay.
And I was like, they've got the Big Muddy Monster. Well, I've got the Pond Creek Monster. And, because I'm kind of like paying homage to the creek and giving it a name,
Right.
So we did that, and we found tracks that day, and we found another, what looked like a scrape site, dig site, whatever you want to call it. And it was actually a lot closer to the road than whenever I had my sighting the first time. This was only about maybe 15, 20 feet into the field from the road. It looked like what we noticed was, because they hadn't, a pipeline was being dug like further back in the field. So the farmers that we rent the land to couldn't come and do anything on that field yet. So we saw, like, you had the old corn stalks that had been, knocked down after they combined and everything the year before.
Mm-hmm.
We found a bunch of them just all like strewn together in this one area, and it looked like something had been digging in it.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, when I put my hand in, like, I've got a big hand.
Yeah.
When I put my hand in it, dude, this thing was way bigger than my hand. And I mean, we tried to get as best of video of it and everything as we could. You could tell it, but you really had to look, it wasn't just obvious, showing it. And I don't know what it could have been going after, because like I said, it looked more like a scrape than an actual, like, digging a hole.
Right.
Whenever I found where I'd seen it at and everything, that was more of a hole that was digging in, like it was after something.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I don't know. But we made the film, called it the Pond Creek Monster, and it ended up getting like 12,000 views in the first month.
Oh, nice.
And
congratulations.
I didn't think we'd get 100, you know what I mean? Just because I'm a nobody, you know what I mean? It's like, and so then he was like, hey, we're going to make a full-fledged documentary about this. And he's like, we're going to put it on streaming services and everything. I'm like, okay,
good.
And because that's what he's done before. He has a documentary about the Big Muddy Monster and some other stuff. Okay. So we did that, and the I'm sorry, I got ahead of myself. So after Joe left from filming the YouTube video, the first time he came out, I told him, I went back like, I don't know, a day or two later, and I found some more prints. And I told him, I was like, hey, I found some more prints, and they're different sizes. Like, some were 16. Matter of fact, whenever I had the sighting and I looked over there, I measured it, those were 16. So they weren't the 18-inch prints. It wasn't the same one.
Right.
So I'm like, okay. But I found 16-inch and I found 14-inch, and I've only ever found the 18-inch that one time in 2023. So I don't know where that one went, but I think it's still there, but I just don't know.
Sure.
But
so it sounds like it's a family group anyway that's in the area then, right?
That's what I'm thinking, because it's there's at least 3.
Okay.
And I know that because of what happened 2 Sundays ago. So, Joe interviewed my dad, because Dad told me, that he's heard some stuff out there. He's heard some things mimicking owls. He's like, it'll sound like an owl, but like it'd be like, ooh, like it'll always have like that. Oh, you gave yourself away finish,
Yeah, a lot of people talk about them mimicking owls, and a lot of times they sound like about a 400-pound owl.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And there is a set of train tracks that I think it's on the what would that be? What is that? North end of the farm that leads to the coal mine, and then those tracks eventually go into another set of tracks that lead down to the Shawnee National Forest. So what I'm thinking is, you hear stories about how some people say, Bigfoot will use like train tracks, power line right-of-ways, stuff like that. Path of least resistance is like an interstate, so to say. Well, I know for a fact there's a lot of activity in the Shawnee National Forest, because I've seen there's these local guys that are down there that's their place where they go and do all their investigating. Now, see, what I like about my whole deal, it's my family farm. Nobody's kicking me out of there.
Right. Yeah.
I can go there whenever I want. But so whenever my dad was talking to Joe, he said the weirdest thing that happened was whenever he heard one mimic a train whistle, because a train had gone by, but it was already gone and been gone for about 10 minutes. Then all of a sudden he heard something sounding like a train whistle. But again, whenever it ended, it had that like kind of, bassy roar at the end. And to me, because I played him the Ohio House that Matt Moonmaker recorded. Sure. I was like, did it sound anything like that? And he said it sounded very similar.
Wow.
So, he's like, he goes, it didn't do it for near that long. He was like, but it did it for like a solid 10 seconds.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, okay. And one night I had borrowed his lawnmower that day, and I brought it back out to him, and I was unloading it and getting the trailer off my car. And I went to go, and he was like, hang on a second, I got to get the boys' soccer ball they left. So I was like, oh, okay. So he started to walk off. It's about 9:30 at night. And all of a sudden, back behind Dad's house, probably, I'm going to say from where we were standing at to where the pond is, maybe 200, 300 yards at the most. But it was so subtle, I almost ignored it. But you heard this just whoop, and it wasn't anything aggressive. It was almost just like a, hey, I'm over here, like just letting you know I can hear you guys over there kind of thing. Oh. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, wait a second. Hey, Dad, did you hear that? He's like, yeah, I was waiting on you to say something. He's like, I hear stuff like that all the time out here at night, son. Oh. And after Grandpa passed away, Dad started doing a lot of bonfires at night and just sitting out there by him, just kind of dealing with, losing his dad.
Yeah.
And he said that, he'll get whooped at. He'll hear stuff along in the woods, like right there, not close where it's like right on you, but
Yeah.
they're probably within, I don't know, 100 feet. And he said one time he got whistled at. He said it was like a shrill, about 5 to 10 second long whistle. And he goes, and I was like, well, did you shine your light back there? He's like, well, no, if I do that, he's like, it won't happen again. He's like, I just kind of looked over my shoulder a little bit. He's like, I didn't see anything. He's like, so I just, kept looking at the fire and messing with it. And he was like, and then it did it again. And he was, he says, he's like, I just hear stuff like that all the time. He says that, he'll be like broad daylight. He'll be out just piddling around in his shop or working on a tractor, working on a bush hog, whatever. I mean, everything works and it breaks. And he said sometimes over in the woods where we found those 18-inch prints heading towards, he said sometimes you'll just hear it go dead quiet over there for about 15 minutes or so. And then all of a sudden, birds and everything will start picking back up. He's like, something's moving through there that's making everything go quiet. He's like, I know how wildlife reacts to a predator being around.
Yeah.
And, so I found that pretty interesting. So let's see. So whenever I had my second sighting was whenever Joe and Jason and the cameraman came out to do the documentary, like the big one that is going to be coming out on streaming services. It's not done yet, but we're calling it the Pond Creek Bigfoot and Other High Strangeness, because he said if I put Pond Creek Monster for that one, he said that it's not as, I guess streaming services don't want to pick up Monster, but they'll pick up Bigfoot.
Okay, sure.
I don't know that stuff. But I was like, hey, whatever, it works. Because there is other weird stuff going on there besides just the Bigfoot.
Yeah.
But that's, well, if I have time, we can get into that. But so we get there and, they got there about, we'll say 5, 6 o'clock in the evening. And this was in the summertime. So this was probably August, I'm going to say, like late August. And so, we're all there, and my wife's going to be coming out later because they wanted to, my grandma told her some stuff whenever she was pregnant with our youngest.
Yeah.
Whenever I was at work, grandma would come over and sit with her, and she would just tell her stories. She told her the honey bear story. She told her some like ghost encounters she'd had out there, lights in the woods, so like orbs, and UFOs. So that's what Joe wanted to talk to her about. So we're sitting there, and we did a little bit of investigating, just during the day while we were kind of waiting for things to get, done and for her to get there. And we didn't find any prints at that time, but we did hear some suspicious noises. Is the only way I can really describe it. Okay. Wasn't so much whoops and things like that, just like, okay, was that coyotes?
Yeah.
Okay, we heard coyotes, but what else was in there with the coyotes? Because there was something with a deeper voice going on too.
Yeah.
And it didn't sound like a coyote. It didn't even sound like it was trying to mimic a coyote either. That was the weirdest part. It was just kind of doing like a howl of its own. So that was weird.
Yeah.
But so, they're sitting there and like, well, let's go ahead and get over there and get everything set up for Amber to come out. I'm like, all right. So me and the cameraman are sitting on the tailgate of Jason's truck. And then Jason and Joe are in the truck. We go to back out. And as we back out and they turn, the tailgate that me and the cameraman are sitting on is facing, like if you're looking down the hill to where the creek is and all that. Well, right there in the middle of the road, me and the cameraman see this very tall figure standing in the road looking at us. And yeah. And at first I'm like, are you seeing that? And he's like, yeah. He's like, is that a person? I'm like, that's too tall. Even from this distance, that is too tall to be a person. Yeah. And it was solid black, same build as what I had seen the year before. And its posture wasn't like aggressive, more curious, because it was kind of leaning to the left a little bit, like it was trying to figure out, okay, is this thing coming towards me or is it going away from me?
Oh, okay.
And yeah, and I mean, like the field where I had my sighting was literally right there to its right, So I mean, it was right there in the same area.
Wow.
So I'm talking to the cameraman. I'm like, now you're seeing this, right? And he's like, yeah, I'm looking right at it. He's like, and he's a big skeptic. Like he's trying to say all these different things. He goes, well, maybe we just saw like a tar mark, because you know how country roads are.
Sure.
Maybe we just saw a tar mark in the middle. I'm like, I looked at him. I'm like, that is not a tar. That is standing.
What time of day was this?
This was probably about a little bit closer to 7.
Okay, but still daylight though, right?
Yeah, still daylight at that point, because it didn't start getting dark until about 8:30, 9 o'clock.
Right. Okay.
And that particular night was a lunar eclipse. So whenever it got dark that night, it got dark.
Oh. Okay.
So we get over, because we were literally just going like a field over, and what it was is the field that I own. The coal company, they were going to put a well out there. They wanted to dig a well, and they made like a pathway to get to it and everything, and put a bunch of like gravel down and all that. So we were going to drive back there. They never did hit water on the well, so they just, hey, thanks for the driveway, cool.
Sure.
And so we got back there, and my dad had a fire pit set up back there too, because back over this past winter, we had a really bad ice storm, and like, you try to find a tree break out there now, good luck, because everything's broken out there from all the ice just making the branches break and trees fall.
Yeah.
And over here, my dad had kind of gathered up a bunch of it, made a huge brush pile. And so we did it right there because it was spooky and, all that. So by this point, Amber's there. My dad brings her up to it and drops her off with us. And, they get her in her chair, and they've got, like, Joe was getting the camera for the interview all set up and ready. The other cameraman that was sitting with me that saw it with me, he was just kind of doing like roaming around, getting like B-roll footage.
Oh, okay.
And then I had a parabolic dish that I was just kind of scanning around, listening for things. And Jason was doing the lighting. So I'm scanning around while all this is going on. And behind us, like behind me and Joe, behind the brush pile, it sounded like it was a little ways back though, but it sounded like something bipedal was walking, and kind of almost like it was like it knew we were there and it was trying to be quiet as possible. But with that parabolic dish, I could hear it. And I even said, I was like, hey, I've got movement back here. And, I was like, I'm not sure. I'm like, but I'm about 99% sure this is bipedal that I'm hearing. It sounds like somebody walking back there, but there would have been nobody. I mean, my dad literally just dropped her off and left and went back to his house. And so, I just kind of filed that back. I was like, okay, well, I've got the audio anyways. And so then we get ready to start the interview, and all of a sudden Amber goes, okay, who just threw a stick at me? And we were all like, yeah.
Ooh.
And we're all like, what? Like kind of looking at each other like, did you throw a stick? And like, none of us threw a stick. And she said that a twig had hit her in her lower leg, kind of by her ankle. And it wasn't like a big stick or nothing. I mean, it was just like a little, like literally a little twig. It didn't hurt her or nothing.
Right.
But it startled her really bad, especially whenever we were all like, none of us threw a stick.
Yeah.
And yeah. And of course, whenever she said that and everything, I started scanning around again, and you could hear something kind of hurriedly, like making its way away from us. So, yeah. So to me, I wonder if that wasn't a juvenile, because that kind of behavior almost would make you think that, like, hey, I want to mess with the humans.
Yeah, exactly.
And,
just a nuisance. Yeah.
Yeah. And that was all that happened for her. She did her interview. She did a great job. Called Dad, told him, hey, come get her. We're going to go ahead and go in the woods, go in the fields, see what we can find. And he was like, okay. So he came and got her, and we loaded up. And I can't remember if I said it then or if I said it before we got set up. But I was like, yeah, so me and the cameraman, we saw it. And Joe and Jason were like, what? Like, why didn't you say something? I was like, why didn't he beat on the truck or something? I'm like, I was talking with him. Like, we were trying to, like, I was making sure he was seeing what I was seeing and everything.
Yeah.
And, you know, it was like one of those, like, it's kind of like, you know, like, why didn't you pull out your phone and take a picture or record it?
Sure.
When you're doing this, none of that stuff even comes to your mind.
Right.
Because you're in the moment. Yeah. And I mean, and that's how I was even talking to the cameraman. I'm like, because I mean, I didn't take my eyes off of it. I'm like looking at it and I'm seeing it kind of leaning over, looking at us and everything, you know. And I mean, still couldn't see the face, but you know, so, you know, they were like, okay, well, you know, we're going to be out here, you know, maybe we'll come across it. Mm-hmm. I was like, yeah, hopefully. I mean, we know it's here. Yeah. And so, you know, we go out to do our investigation. Sorry. And we went out and we started, you know, whooping and doing some knocks, which kind of, sort of, you know, like I know some people say don't do that. Other people say do it. You know, we wanted to see what we could get.
Okay.
And we did get some responses, but I'll tell you what got the most, I wouldn't call it aggressive, but almost like a knock it off response.
Okay.
Jason had this thing called an Aztec death whistle.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And I don't know if you've ever heard the sound these things make.
Yeah, it's horrifying. Yeah.
Dude, I heard that in the woods. I'm out. like, bye-bye. I'm out. I'm gone. This, so he blew it once and I'm running the parabolic. Nothing. Waited about 30 seconds, blew it again. No sooner than he stopped blowing in it, suddenly I hear on the dish, I hear this loud, just bam, like something like had a big branch or something and just smacked the hell out of a tree. And like, you know. And I was like, oh, we got a solid knock. And they're like, okay, cool. You know, and like, you know, they got night vision, they got FLIR and all that. And I mean, it was really cool. And then you wouldn't believe the amount of deer we saw out that night too.
Oh,
like,
really?
I mean, there was probably 18 in one field and like another 12 to 15 in the field across the road where my sighting was. And we went down to the creek and we got some more vocalizations, and they were mainly just like whoops, and I think that was it for that night.
Okay.
So, you know, we got all the footage and everything for that. Never did get like, you know, camera seeing the Bigfoot or anything.
Right.
But like, you know, they immediately did the and in another interview with me about what I saw, and then the cameraman, you know, backing me up that he saw it too.
Yep.
And one thing I forgot to tell you that happened earlier. The day after we had filmed and I went to go take pictures of the prints. Mm-hmm. So he told me, you know, take those pictures. He was like, and then just send them to me and I can edit them in on that video. I said, okay, cool. So I go out there and I did this thing that I've seen on a few different podcasts with Native Americans talking about Bigfoot and how they will say to, you know, go out there, announce yourself, welcome them, call them Forest Brothers, let them know you come in peace, you mean them no harm. Mm-hmm. So I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. I mean, what's the worst that could happen, you know?
Right.
And so I did that. I announced, I said, you know, Forest Brothers, welcome to the farm. You guys are more than welcome to be here. All I ask is please just be respectful of our properties here. Mm-hmm. Don't tear anything up, but, you know, our home is your home. And And I said I come in peace. And I also asked if they could give me a sign of their presence. And, you know, so I'm just sitting there because I already knew where some of the prints were. I took pictures of those. And then as I'm going a little further into the field, coming from the creek, I start hearing this noise. And the only way I know how to describe it is it sounded like a loud belly growl.
Oh,
Like if you were
okay.
hungry or something.
Yeah.
But that was your voice and you were mumbling. That's the only way I know how to describe it. And, you know, and I'm running, like I hear it and I'm like, what? And I'm like, I look over at the creek area, couldn't see nothing because of all the broken branches from the ice storm. Like it's perfectly camouflaged.
Oh,
But it wasn't like it was a dirt bike, like off in the distance or something going off. You know, I mean, this was coming from the creek area.
okay.
And that was only maybe 60 feet away from me.
Wow.
So, I mean, yeah. But at the same time, I never got a negative vibe from it. I never felt in danger.
Yeah.
Never felt like, you know, sick to my stomach or anything like that. Like if they were to blast infrasound or something.
Mm-hmm.
Never was anything like that.
Okay.
And I told my dad about it. And he actually didn't realize that I was talking about something that he had heard himself that he called the warbler, because to him, that's the sound it makes. It was like you know, whenever it makes its noise.
Yeah.
And we were actually talking about the same thing.
Oh.
And then once he realized that, he was like, oh, okay. And so that was kind of neat. But so now I'm going to go to October 17th.
Okay.
Joe wanted to come out and do another nighttime investigation, kind of like basically like a nighttime on Pond Creek, you know, Halloween thing for his channel.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, yeah, sure, go ahead. It's like, we'll live stream it, and, you know, we'll do like 20 minutes live stream, and then, you know, the rest of it will just be footage that we post like next week or something. Like, yeah, that's fine, whatever you want to do, I don't care. And we got a lot of vocalizations that night.
Oh, nice.
But yeah, but we also had a lot of equipment issues. Like the live stream, it said on his phone that we were live and everything like that on YouTube, but on his channel, people were texting me we weren't live.
Oh no.
And yeah, and it was like, that's weird.
Yeah.
Jason had a I don't know what it's called, but it'll tell you if there's like lightning strikes in your area.
Oh yeah.
And it was saying that we had lightning strikes within like 1 mile, 2 miles of us. There wasn't any clouds in the sky.
Really?
Yeah, and it was saying all this, and I mean, it went off probably 20 times.
Oh.
And every time we're just like looking around, it's like there's nothing. And
that's fascinating.
So yeah, but before they got there, I got there because I thought we were going to meet about 6. So I got there, and my dad, I saw him because I came a different way than what I usually do. I ended up going down the main road, and I saw him in the field by my cousin Tyler's house. So I pulled over at Tyler's house, went out and talked to him for a minute. He was just sawing firewood. And I told him, you know, well, me and Joe and Jason are going to be out here doing some investigating and stuff, just so you know. And he's like, oh, okay, cool. And he had said that he had heard the warbler again. So that was, you know, that belly growl thing I heard.
Yep.
And so I was like, all right, well, I'll make sure and tell them that. And so I just went ahead and went over to his house and parked across the road where the pole barn is. And I just sat there and I texted Joe, hey, I'm here, man. And he was like, all right, dude. He's like, we're having all kinds of issues. Not only were they having issues with the equipment when they got there, their GPS was messing up on the way there.
Oh.
Because they had camped in this area called Dixon Springs, because I could say that. It's far enough away where, you know, it's like, you know, people aren't really going to pick up where it's at. But they were camped down there, and he knew there was a quicker route. He just couldn't remember how to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But the GPS kept trying to reroute them, and it basically, because he couldn't remember the other way to get there, he had to take that way, and it added an hour to their drive time. Yeah.
Oh no.
And yeah, and it was just kind of weird because it it just kind of seemed like there was a force trying to keep them away.
Yeah.
But while I'm sitting there waiting for them, you know, it's getting dark. So I went ahead and just turned my car off, rolled down the windows, you know, no radio, nothing like that. I'm just sitting there listening because I'm figuring, you know, maybe I'll hear a whoop or
Right.
a scream or whatever, you know. Well, what I ended up hearing about 15 minutes after I did that was one of two things. And I don't think it was the second thing. What I heard was what everybody describes whenever you hear something like with the Bigfoot, whenever they run through the woods and they're just knocking down trees or branches or whatever, you know, just like a elephant running through the woods sound.
Yep.
I heard that. And it was like, it startled me because I wasn't expecting that. And not only did I hear it once, I heard it twice because it did it again about 10 minutes later.
Oh, man.
Now, of course, I'm going to be thinking, okay, yeah, one of them was in those woods directly in front of me because that field is shaped like an L.
Okay.
And where like the 45-degree angle would be on the L, like that is all woods right there. And so I thought, well, maybe it's going after a deer or something. And but if it wasn't that, then it must have been the top of two trees, because it happened twice, like I said, falling out and hitting every single branch on the way down to crashing onto the ground on a night that there was no wind. So I don't think it was that. But so that was wild because, like I said, it happened twice. I mean, the first time hearing it was like, whoa. And then it did it again. I'm like, okay. So I don't know if it was the same one doing it twice or if maybe there was two of them.
Did it seem to be getting louder as if it was coming your direction or just noise?
The way it seemed to me is it was in the woods, just in the tree line. But whenever it took off, it was like taking off away, like almost at a diagonal to come out in like the long part of the L shape of the field.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah. And so they get there and it's about 8 o'clock at this point.
Mm-hmm.
I immediately tell them, hey guys, I've already got activity going on. This is what I heard. And they're like, okay, cool. We're going to go ahead and get geared up and let's get out there. And they had me on the parabolic dish and everything like that again. We get out there. Sure enough, we see some deer. But the deer were really weird because they almost seemed like usually, you know, we go, if we're out there and we get as close as we were to these deer, like we were probably from me to my across the street neighbor's house, which isn't very far at all.
Okay.
And usually they would run, but these didn't do that. These were just sitting there and they were looking towards the woods.
Yeah.
And we thought that was weird, you know, but then me thinking back, I'm like, okay. Because I never did hear, like, it didn't sound like it had got one because you would have heard distress noises from it.
Okay.
So I'm thinking maybe it missed, tried again, missed again. And then those things knew, hey, something's over there.
Right. And you guys were the lesser of two evils. So, yeah.
And, but we picked up some howls and we picked up some whoops. And we also picked up really weird. It almost sounded like either a mimic or a disembodied voice that said, hey, and then laughed.
Really?
Yeah. And we got it. Like I picked it up on the parabolic. The only other person that could have been out there besides Dad, which it wasn't Dad, Dad was too far away. But the only other person that could have been out there would have been my cousin Tyler, but he was at work that night because he works a factory job that he's a supervisor at. So he doesn't get home until like after midnight. And so that was weird, you know, just file that in the weird category because I don't know what that was.
What did the laugh sound like? I'm very curious.
It was like just like a, you know, like creepy, like a creepy. I know that sounded really weird, but yeah,
well, no,
that's
fine.
Pretty close to what it sounded like. And it
Because
was just like,
I've heard references to them laughing, sounding like, like the Scooby Doo kind of laugh, like, and that's
yeah,
kind of approximates what you're doing. I can't do it
yeah,
right now because I'll sound like an absolute idiot, but
yeah. That's why I do it for you. 'Cause I'll be the idiot.
no, that's fine. But it is interesting. And if it was a tee hee hee or a giggle kind of thing, it'd be like, well, that doesn't really fit. But the laugh that you're describing does. So
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah. That was weird. We didn't really know what to make of that,
Right.
and we just filed that under. Okay, that's weird.
Yeah, but
And
it's interesting though because of all of the activity that you've been describing. None of it is threatening in any way. It's not targeting you. It's just kind of living around you, and
Mhm.
it seems very peaceful though, doesn't it?
It does, honestly. And like another podcaster that I was on his show, Paul, um, he said it was almost like, they're almost kind of looking out for you in a way, what was like the way that he kind of felt about it whenever I was telling him everything.
Sure.
And I mean, maybe they are, because like I said, like I've never had, like, I don't go out armed or anything. I don't even have a pocket knife on me when I go out there, because I say I come in peace. I don't want to give them any idea that I'm not.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. Now, I mean, there are things out there, like regular predators, like a cougar, stuff like that, that could be out there at times where, yeah, I probably should have something on me, but I don't want to mess up having any kind of an experience, no
Yeah.
matter how big it is.
I got a question about you were talking about how there was definitely a correlation with May, but as you've been researching this with the Doyles and stuff, there wasn't really constrained to the May period, was it? It was at varying times, and you would still have indications of activity. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's been like this year, because like I said, this year is when I've really been hitting it hard.
Mm-hmm.
And when I've been talking to my dad the most, and now dad knows things to listen for, like things that he thought was just like a weird owl or something like that, he realizes now might be a mimic.
Yeah.
And so it was kind of funny. He made the joke that he used to like living out there until he talked to me and Joe, and Joe told him all the things to listen to. He's like, now I'm always looking over my shoulder when I'm out there.
Yeah. Well, I think that caution is always best because, I love the idea that, oh, they're looking out for you, or they're being protective, and maybe they are. But I think since we know so incredibly little about whatever these things are, what's their motivations, what are they doing, and how do they actually regard us, and we don't know. But
Right.
I certainly would love to believe that that's true, but at the same time, you can't lose sight of a lot of First Nation tribes have a histories of war and people being taken away and never seen again, and conflict with these things as well. So I think always regarding it with caution is the best play. And again, I'd love for it to be real.
Yeah, it's funny you should bring First Nations up.
Mhm.
The field where I had my sighting, there used to be a Native American settlement, and I'm just going to guess it was the Shawnee Indians, because the Shawnee National Forest isn't that far away.
Okay.
But there was also a fort on the farm, and it was basically the field across from where I had my sighting, further up the hill. My dad knows the location of where it was at. I just know the field.
Okay.
But they did, Southern Illinois University, they did do an excavation out there of the fort back in, I think, the 80s. And then they came back out again in 2008 and did a more excavating. And they found artifacts from the fort, like, musket balls, like buckles, buttons, remnants of the sword. And they also found arrowheads and stuff, too. So that tells me that they clashed,
There's conflict. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, because like we've had the farm since the 1860s in our family.
Wow.
And yeah, and so I mean this was way before that.
Mhm.
But whenever I did a little more research, now granted I was using Google, But whenever I did a little more research into the fort, I'm not going to say the name of the fort because that would give away the location.
Yeah.
But apparently, it was one of the first forts built in America's expansion westward of the Ohio River.
Yeah.
Didn't know that. I mean, I always heard stories about the fort when I was a kid growing up, but I didn't know that it had that much of an importance about it.
It's a lot of history and a lot of generations of probably issues and God only knows what. But yeah, it's fascinating to me. I was gonna ask you to or remark at least about the equipment failures that you've experienced, weird glitchy things, and that comes up so much in Bigfoot research, and you'd swear it was a haunting just because those energetic weird things that are going on, but perhaps there's an energetic property to this area. Like there's you hear the term thrown around all the time, and it's kind of cliche that I'm the one saying it, but portals, there's naturally occurring vortexes of energy, and this happens to be one of them. And maybe that's why the weird stuff happens. Maybe that's why these things choose to be there, is because of this energy, or maybe they're causing it somehow. It's a lot of unknowns, but it's very curious.
Yeah, definitely. Because I mean, I've seen orbs, lights in the woods that wasn't somebody with a headlamp.
Yeah.
Like I said, the coal mine, they mined underneath the farm, so we know there's minerals and stuff there.
Right.
There's several different bodies of water around there and like flowing. So like the creek, the creek, sometimes it'd be dry. Now it's never dry because whenever they built the railroad, they had to reroute the creek.
Oh.
And I guess the way they did it, now it stays constantly flowing.
Well, that's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, because used to, whenever it would rain really good, you could go down there like a day or two later and find a bunch of arrowheads that had,
washed
been
out.
unearthed from the river.
Yep.
And that was always cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a pretty, and like whenever you're out there, like you can just feel an energy, and that's like really the only way I can describe it. Like to me, it's just the feeling of home. Like the farm will always be home to me.
Yeah.
And but since I've been doing this stuff, you can also kind of feel like an energy there too, like more than just the homely feeling,
Yeah.
and like, looking more into things, trying to do my homework as best as I can about everything out there. I mean, I'm a beginner at this, but I've been having, like I said, I've been getting a lot of evidence, and it's really neat.
Yeah, it is.
And like one more thing that happened was just 2 Sundays ago on the 23rd. It was my wife's birthday. She wanted to go out there and have a bonfire party for her birthday. I was like, all right, cool, let's do it. And I told Dad, he was like, yeah, no problem. So we invited a bunch of friends, but it was a Sunday night. People work, people got kids. So only like one person ended up showing up, and it was actually a little bit later into the evening when they got there. But we got there. First off, that Sunday, it was very foggy, very, very foggy, and which made it creepy.
Yeah,
but we had the fire going and everything. We got there about 4:30, and it got dark at 5. And Dad's talking with us, hanging out with us, and all that. And then he goes inside for a while. Well, while he was inside, me and her were sitting there at the fire, and all of a sudden, it would be basically in the direction of the woods that we were in 2023 whenever we found the 18-inch prints leading to them. So somewhere over in that direction. I don't know if it was precisely right there in those woods. But we heard this. The only way I know how to describe it, and this is going to sound kind of weird, but it sounded like a female guttural scream that went for a good solid 10 seconds. And whenever it finished, it sounded apish.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
And I've never heard that at all. Now I know fox, sometimes deer can make us sound similar, but I've never heard one do that loud, that high pitched, and for that long.
You should go over to SasquatchChronicles.com and check out the blog, because I know Wes posts some vocalizations that are sent into him from people around, and have a listen, because there was one that he posted kind of recently which sounded very screamy like that, but it also sounded weird at the end. I couldn't tell you where it is or where to find it exactly, but go peruse through the Sasquatch Chronicles blog, because I know Wes is always posting stuff that he gets submitted to him.
Yeah. Okay. I'll do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cause I mean, it startled me. Like it startled her too. Cause like we looked at each other. She's like, did you hear that? I'm like, yeah. And I'm glad you did too.
I'm glad I'm not alone. Yeah. Absolutely.
And so like, I'm sitting there. So at this point I'm on like, okay, like I'm on alert. I'm looking around. I'm like, okay, what was that? Then not too long after that happened, I start hearing something else coming from the opposite way, kind of down towards the creek, but not that far. It was in the field, maybe halfway down to the creek. And it had more bass in its vocalization.
Okay.
It was kind of weird, because it almost sounded like, the only way I could figure is maybe that was Mama yelling, and one of her kids, or maybe her mate, was like, like what's she want, kind of thing. It was seriously like the vibe that I was getting from it. And I mean, I'm no like, Sasquatch whisperer or nothing like that, but it was just like, knowing like I would almost say it had to have been one of the juveniles, maybe.
Yeah.
Like I'm leaning more towards that, because it seemed like oh man, like, but then, so I'm hearing that. I never did hear the scream again like I did. That only happened the one time.
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't too much longer after that, we started hearing movement in the woods close to us.
Oh.
Yeah. And you would hear something moving to the left a little ways down in the wood line, and you would hear something to the right, and then you would hear something kind of in the middle. And so that's why I said I believe there's 3 of them there, at least. Okay. Because the movement was you would hear it sometimes almost at the same time, but you could pick out, like, there's one there, there's one over there somewhere, and there's one over here somewhere.
Yeah.
Couldn't see him because it was as foggy as could be.
Right.
Well, I could hear the footsteps, and it was bipedal. It wasn't like a deer or a coyote or whatever, bobcat, something like that. It wasn't any of that.
That's really fascinating. Yeah.
Yeah. And I even told his dad came back out there. I told him, and he was just like, "Oh, you heard that one, huh?" He'd been saving that. He hadn't told me about that.
Oh, he actually had heard that though.
Yeah. He was like, yeah. And he even told me, he was like, yeah, he goes, the first time I heard that, he's heard that a few times, like probably 3 or 4. He said the first time he heard it, he just kind of brushed it off as probably a fox.
Oh. Sure.
And I'm like, really? I'm like, Dad, what I heard was really loud. And he was just like, well, I mean, that was before you and Joe talked to me. And I was like, oh, okay. He's like, now when I hear it, I don't like it.
That is fascinating.
Yeah. So, I mean, that, to me, there's, like you said, there seems to be a family of them out there. And I'm okay with that, because we haven't had any issues. And I even asked my dad, because we used to have livestock on the farm back when my grandpa and his brother were alive. They were the ones who farmed out there. And because they had it, like Pop owned half and my Uncle Larry owned the other half. And so they did all the farming and everything. We had cattle out there. And before I was born, apparently there used to be some pigs out there and chickens and I think some goats. But I asked Dad, I was like, you ever hear anything about livestock going missing or strange deaths of them or anything? And he was like, no. He's like, not nothing that comes to mind anyways. He's like, every once in a while, you might have something just kind of disappear, like like one of the goats or something. But he's like, as far as like the cows and everything, he was like, no. He's like, if they died, it was natural causes or something. He's
cool.
like, it was never anything that seemed like something like we had a predator out there getting them.
Right.
So, and I think back to my grandma's story, which about the honey bear, which was like 1963, we'll say.
Mm-hmm.
Because dad was born in 58. So if he was 4 or 5, it'd be like 62, 63. So at least 60 years that these things have been out there, and probably longer.
Yeah.
But, grandma was like I couldn't ask my great grandma about it because she died whenever I was like 22, I think, or 21.
Oh, I see.
And I wasn't like, she was 99 when she passed. So if I would have really been into this stuff then, like I am now, but I mean, really the popularity of it and everything like that, even then, like 20 years ago, really wasn't there.
No.
It's been more like in the last, 15 years, maybe.
Yep. It's definitely especially the last 10, but I think it was actually Finding Bigfoot that really kind of cracked the seam on it. I mean, there were other things like In Search Of and Monster Quest and all of that kind of broached the subject. But I think when Finding Bigfoot came out is the first time people really kind of took the time to understand the phenomena, and it became much more interesting to people. And they did a great job on that show for that reason. I mean, they were never going to find Bigfoot, but they did bring a lot of stories and a lot of awareness out. And
Not the first time.
yeah, I think the one thing they found was sponsors, and that's good for them. So, I'll tell you what, brother, it's been a great journey, but you're going to have to come back because I know you have other experiences yet that have to do with other parts of the paranormal. And I'd love for you to come back and also to give us an update on what's going on the farm too.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm going to be getting I'm going to get a GoPro and a gimbal, and I'm going to do the Scott Carpenter method.
Okay.
And I'm just going to start going out there because now that, it's fall, basically winter, and all the trees are losing their leaves and everything, I think that's going to be a good time for me to go out there because number one, I'll be able to see. Yeah. And two, the cameras will be able to pick up things a lot easier too. If something like, if I walk by and something pokes its head out or something like that.
Yeah.
So
very good.
Yeah, I'll definitely keep you updated on that.
All right, brother. Well, thank you so much for taking the time and walking us on this incredible journey. And again, I think you're right. I think you're living these things, whatever they are, whatever they're doing, are living peaceful with you guys. And I think it's wonderful. I don't have any apprehensions about people sharing space with them, but I guess if it ever turns sideways or whatever, that may change things. But so far, it sounds like everything's working out just fine. But thank you so much, man.
No problem, man. I appreciate you having me on. Like I said, I was a big fan of the show and everything, so to get to be on here is an honor.
Oh, the pleasure's all mine, man. And you'll have to come back, so we'll talk and figure out when that will be. But yeah, it's been a great journey, man, and amazing stories. I appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you.
All right, everybody, that's going to wrap it up for us today. So hope you guys enjoyed the show, and thank you again so much for all your love and support. And remember, if you want to follow the Paranormal Portal, probably the easiest way is to head over to paranormalportal.net. And that's the homepage for the Paranormal Portal. And you'll find links to all of our different social media and sites and information about the shows, including our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/paranormalportal. Or just look for Paranormal Portal on Google or whatever search engine, and you'll find links to our social media such as Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. So we're kind of all over the place, and we're spreading as well as we can. But anyway, thank you so much for the love and support. Y'all take care, and remember, we love y'all. Be good, be kind, be nice. Take care of each other, help each other out, find the magic in every day, and remember to laugh as much as you can. Until next time.